push to strengthen India's research and innovation, government has recently cleared a 1 lakh crore rupees corpus on research and innovation fund in order to, somewhere push private participation in a high impact research. We have with us Professor Abhay Karandikar, who is also Secretary, Department of Science and Technology. Welcome to NDTV Profit, sir. I would like to start with asking you, sir, that how you are ensuring that this particular scheme, this particular fund will have private participation in the high impact, research and innovation.
So, first of all, as you rightly mentioned, that the objectives of the Research, Development and Innovation Fund, which has come up with this 1 lakh crore corpus, is to spur the private sector driven research and innovation. That is to say that this fund will invest primarily in private sector R&D, which includes corporates, which includes industries, which also includes deep tech startups. The idea is that there are certain cutting edge deep tech sectors or sunrise sectors which require long gestation periods. Typically, the return on investments on these sectors takes a relatively long time, and then there are more uncertainties. And we have seen that private sector have typically shied away from investing in these sectors because there are high risks and there are uncertainties. Now, to mitigate those initial risks, the Government of India has taken this very bold initiative to set up the Research, Development and Innovation Fund, which will invest in private sectors through either concessional loans or equity or a combination of that in the sunrise sectors.
Mm-hmm. Speaking on the, low interest for, private sectors, what step will be taken to kind of, for private sector to ensure that they will use these loans effectively on this fund and, making it effectively implemented?
Yeah. So I think let me just, before I answer this, let me just tell you how the fund will work. The fund will be set up as a special purpose fund within Anusandhan National Research Foundation, ANRF. Which has been already established and operationalized last year. The ANRF has a governing board chaired by the Honorable Prime Minister, and it has an executive council chaired by the Principal Scientific Advisor to the Government of India. Now, this will be set up as a special purpose fund, but this fund will not directly invest. This fund will identify the second level fund managers. These second level fund managers could be alternate investment funds, or they could be non-banking financial institutions, or they could be development financial institutions, or they could be focused research organizations like BIRAC of DBT or IIT Research Parks, etc. Now, these second level fund managers will identify the cutting edge R&D projects, as you mentioned, how it will be ensured. The objective is that we identify the projects which are in the few sunrise sectors. They are really cutting edge and deep tech. They are at a TRL level 4 and above. We are not funding basic research, through this, and no grant will be given. This fund will not give any grants, and this fund will not fund basic research in academia. For that, the ANRF is already funding basic R&D in academic institutions and R&D labs. This fund will really take the prototype level research that has happened to a product and commercialization scale and deploy it. And few sunrise sectors will be one criteria. Another criteria will be that the project should be really cutting edge and deep tech. This fund will not be used to subsidize the routine R&D of the corporates and the industries. They should really come up with the projects which are developing technologies, and will make our country globally competitive and achieve the strategic autonomy.
But which sectors are being called sunrise or strategic sector under this fund scheme? If you could elaborate a bit on that.
So currently, we have identified certain sunrise sectors as has been approved by the Union Cabinet. One is, the energy transition and climate change. This is one of the sectors. Other sectors is, the deep tech sectors like robotics, or drones or space, sectors, quantum, for example. Third is, the whole sector of this biotechnology, synthetic biology, etc. The fourth is, the applications of artificial intelligence in various, applications. Fourth is like digital economy, including like, precision agriculture or climate resilient agriculture. So these are the few sunrise sectors we have currently identified. But if there is any other technology sectors that needs to be looked into, then the scheme will have a mechanism of adding those sectors with an appropriate approval process.
You talked about deep, tech fund of funds. So I wanted to understand that what kind of support are you expecting from startups?
Yeah. So as I mentioned that this fund will give the concessional loans to private sectors or corporates. So typically, which are established corporates or established industries, if they bring in certain projects, typically they will achieve concessional loans. And we are also expecting that the industry will contribute 50% of the total assessed project cost, and 50% can come from this fund. For the startups, for the deep tech startups, this fund will actually can also take equity in the startups. Okay, so the startups, which are developing, technologies in the deep tech sectors, which I mentioned, like whether it is quantum or robotics or space or strategic sectors or defense or energy, and all kind of energy, whether it is, clean energy or whether it is electric vehicles or electric mobility or, energy transitions, climate change, the fund can take equity in such deep tech startups.
But sir, with multi-layers of decision making, multi-layers of funding, it always like somewhere, challenge, or it will lead to delays also. So how to kind of ensure quick action and ensure the implementation of this scheme in a very smooth manner?
No, I completely agree with you that, the whole purpose will get defeated if the corporates and the deep tech startups, which are expecting the funding, if this funding decision gets delayed. I think for that, we are now currently working for the operational guidelines and implementation guidelines of the scheme. And in the next few months, we will soon be rolling out the actual operations of the fund. And I would like to really assure you that we will implement the mechanisms which will guarantee the smooth fund flow and no delays in actual investment decisions or, getting the funds by the corporates in the sectors. On the other hand, as a matter of fact, we are really looking for the industry and innovators to really come up with the cutting edge and the deep tech project, because that will be our criteria. As I already mentioned, that this will not be like any other fund which will invest in any startups, or any corporates R&D. It will really, the project has to be really cutting edge, and we would therefore really like the industry and innovators to take that risk, which was so far, not coming up.
Since it's too early to kind of ask this, Cabinet just clear this, but I wanted to know, how the response from the startup world, how the response from the companies? Are they showing interest? Have they expressed their, their keenness in this particular fund? Have you received any response so far?
This budget announcement was made in this budget, although the Union Cabinet has approved a scheme on 1st of July. There was a budget announcement, and also the 20,000 crore has been allocated this year out of 1 lakh crore. So we conducted a post-budget webinar in the month of March, April. And there was a tremendous response both from the corporates and the startup community and also the investment community to see that India is actually really launching a sovereign public fund for investing in the technology sectors.
This last question, sir, which is related also, but slightly different, on the rare earth elements. It has been a spotlight on that, given that how China has, kind of tightened its export restriction around that. How are you seeing that as a very important component for some of the important sectors like electric vehicle? And you think that is there any alternative to that?
Yeah. So, not just the rare earth, but there are many other components and technology on which we have a critical supply chain dependence on, China and other countries. And in order to become for our country to be a product nation and strategic autonomy, we have to slowly remove that dependence. Now, in the particular case of rare earth, there are some efforts in the country to achieve, to develop our own, supply chains in this. But there are other alternatives. In terms of alternatives, there are mechanisms where people are, researchers are developing rare earth magnet-free motors also, like, synchronous reluctance motors. It is possible that we can develop these motors which have either a smaller percentage of the rare earth free magnets or completely free from the rare earth free magnets. There are some research efforts in these directions, and if some such proposals from some technology company comes up, of course, we will be happy to look at it to support this, because as you rightly mentioned, this is an important and critical component.
And considering a lot of dependence on China for that.
Yes, absolutely.
So thank you so much, sir, for sharing your insight on this very important scheme, which government has cleared on July 1st. And we all hoping that we will see more private participation, coming in this particular research and innovation sector. Thank you so much, sir, speaking with us.
Thank you.